Well, economists say Australia should be making better use of migrant skills to boost productivity. New data from the Committee for Economic Development of Australia has found migrants who have been in Australia for 2 to 6 years earn less than those who were born here. For more, I'm joined by CEDA Senior Economist Andrew Barker. Good morning, Andrew. Thanks for your time.
Morning, Catherine. Pleasure.
How would you describe the current landscape, firstly, of migrant workers and how their skills are matched to the jobs?
So what we've found is that weaker English skills, poor skills recognition, and in some cases discrimination mean that we're not making the best use of the migrant skills that we could be. We found that on average, recent migrants earn more than 10% less than similar Australian-born people, and that's been getting worse over time. And that's a missed opportunity for the migrants, but also for the Australian economy more broadly, where we have skill shortages and weak productivity growth.
Yeah, I will ask you about the impact on productivity and the economy in a moment. One of the key takeaways from this research that I'm interested in speaking to you about is that Australia must increase the skilled migrants' access to English language training. What is the access currently, and how would improved access help matters?
So currently, support with English training is largely focused at humanitarian and family migrants. Around 15% of skilled migrants access English training that's made available by the government. And that's a missed opportunity because English language training is particularly important in high skilled occupations where the need to communicate really well is even more important. And what we find looking at international examples is that in many cases, those programs can pay for themselves through higher wages, therefore higher tax revenue that pays for the upfront program costs.
And I guess with those language barriers, it's often hard to identify sometimes the international qualifications of those migrants. Is that going unrecognised? And if so, how can that be changed?
That's right. So there's a challenge to better recognise the skills, the qualifications and the work experience of people moving to Australia. And we find that only about 30% of qualifications are recognised. And what we suggest to improve that is have more of a responsibility on the occupational regulators to give an if not, why not response and identify bridging courses to top up the level of skills and qualifications to meet the needs.
So firstly, the impact of this situation on the migrants. What is that when it comes to wages? We hear that they're being paid less, but what is the magnitude?
So across the board for recently arrived migrants, we find that they're earning 10% less. And given the large numbers of migrants that enter Australia, that adds up to about $4 billion in foregone wages each year. And it's worse among some groups. So, for example, among women with postgraduate degrees, we find that recent migrants earn 31% less than similarly qualified Australian-born people.
Yeah, it's quite the gap, isn't it? The numbers are quite staggering. With respects to the impact on the economy and the skills shortage that we hear so much about, what are the costs on productivity and the economy by not harnessing these migrant skills correctly?
So those numbers give an idea of the scale of the potential opportunity, because it's not just that migrants are getting paid less to do the same job, it's that they're working in lower skilled jobs than their education and experience suggests they could. And we found in previous work that around a quarter of skilled migrants are working in jobs below their skill level. So that's a real opportunity to get better productivity and benefits for the economy more broadly if we can put those people into jobs that best use their skills.
So what are some of the recommendations you have to address these issues with respect to changes in, say, the migration system, the expansion of existing English programs, and where do you start with potential discrimination as well?
So as we've discussed, we recommend increasing access for skilled migrants to English language training when they arrive in Australia, particularly focused on occupation-specific language, which is really important in those high-skilled jobs. On skills recognition, as we've discussed, there's a need to better recognise international skills and do that through an assessment that's more based on assessing competence rather than assessing having developed your qualifications through a particular pathway or particular path. And finally, on discrimination, it's not necessarily a sort of overt ethnic discrimination. It can also be about not recognising foreign work experience, having a preference for local experience, and that can be difficult for migrants because if they can't get local experience, then that doesn't provide a pathway. So providing opportunities to get more local experience and mentoring, and also pilot programs that emphasise individual differences across different ethnic populations.
Andrew Barker, CEDA Senior Economist, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.